Hi guys, Josh Lloyd here. NBA DraftKings first look for Friday, February the 12th. Let's talk about these games. Before I do, hit the subscription button, hit the little bell, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment down below. Right, now you've done that, let's talk about the games. The first one, the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Charlotte Hornets. Devontae Graham is questionable for Charlotte, while D'Angelo Russell is out once again for Minnesota. Of course, if you aren't aware, Karl Anthony Towns is back, and let's start with him because he's at 9,300. He was on a 30 minutes limit last game. I think that will be bumped up again, and at 9,300, it's really, really hard not to use Towns. Cody Zeller has seen his minutes plummet lately. I wouldn't want to use him, but with D'Angelo Russell out, I think Malik Beasley comes in as a pretty nice option for us. 7,100 is going to take a ton of shots. We know that much. LaMelo Ball, I don't know. I mean, I do know. I know he's really good. I know he's putting up good numbers, but 8,600 is a lot, especially if we don't know the status of Devontae Graham. I'd be hesitant to use LaMelo there. I like Gordon Hayward at 7,300. Although his recent production has fallen off somewhat, while Rick Rubio at 6,000, I don't like how high that price is. I know Russell's out, but Rubio just doesn't score. He gets assists and that's it. Anthony Edwards at 6,100. He's a tougher guy to use. While Jaden McDaniels, sorry, there's two McDaniels playing. Make sure you use the right one. There is Jaden McDaniels on the Timberwolves here at 3,500 and Jalen McDaniels here for the Hornets at 3,000. We want to use the 3,500 one. Jaden McDaniels of the Wolves, a guy that just dropped 27 fantasy points last game. I don't think that there's any chance that they start him, but we're getting some interesting numbers coming from him. Rozier's at 66. I don't mind that one as well. Really, though, in the situation where we have Devontae Graham ruled out and Miles Bridges playing also pretty well, but I worry if there might be a bit of a squeeze on his minutes with Graham or if Graham returns. Safe to say I'm not going to be using Graham if he is ready, but his impact is more going to be on the impact he has on other players. The Knicks and the Wizards. The Wizards are 1-point favorites here. The total is 222, which is really high for a Knicks game. Russell Westbrook. There is no Brad Beal. He is resting. So Westbrook at 9,000. Now, Westbrook has not been playing well, but he is going to take every single shot in the world here. So at 9,000, I think we've got to be marginally interested. I think we can take somewhat of a flyer on Davis Bertans. He's been starting. He's also been doing nothing, but he has been starting. And again, a few more shots going his way without Beal out there. And I like Alex Len at 4,600. Even though we have to deal with an absolute numbnuts in Scott Brooks coaching him, Len's been putting up some okay numbers. Derrick Rose is at 53. I'm not super into that. I am a little bit into Julius Randle, especially given the quality of the opponent. 9,100 for Randle, while Rui Hachimura, not a bad cash option. I think his tournament upside's pretty low, but again, the shots, most of Beal's shots will go to Westbrook. He'll probably have a 50% usage or something insane like that. But someone else is going to get some shots. I wonder who they start, because they don't really have many other two guards. Garrison Matthews, do they dust off Troy Brown? Do they put Denny Avdia, whose best position is at the 4? Do they start him at the 2? Do they go just stupid big with Avdia, Bertans, and Hachimura? Do they start Hal Neto or Ish Smith next to Westbrook? That sounds disgusting, but I'm really worried about what they're going to do with that lineup, and it could have an impact on how this all goes. Quickly, Peyton, not interested in those guys really at all. Rowan Barrett at 6,100. His minutes have been falling, RJ Barrett, and that is something for us to keep an eye on. Let's go to the next game now. We've got the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics here for this one. A back-to-back for both of these teams. So Kemba Walker and Blake Griffin will likely be out for both of these squads. Well, for their respective teams, obviously. Peyton Pritchard, I imagine, gets a start. Played well against the Raptors on Thursday. Big opportunity for him at 3,800. Really, really like him. Jason Tatum at 88 and Jaylen Brown at 78. I think both of those guys come in looking pretty solid in this one. I'd be okay with using either of them. We know that Marcus Smart remains out. Both of those guys have value here. And I think that Sadiq Bey will probably get a start in place of Blake Griffin. He's at 3,400. He's been pretty up and down, Sadiq, but he can get you 20 pretty easily. And at that price, that's good for me. I like Jeremy Grant at 75. In fact, there's a lot of fantasy value in this game. I like Delon Wright at 6,000. I like Daniel Tice at 4,800. I wouldn't be too excited about, say, Jeff Teague, but we also have the situation where we might not have Mason Plumlee. He sat out Thursday, and his replacement, Isaiah Stewart at 3,100, absolute guaranteed lock cash play if Plumlee is out again. We don't know, but that is what I assume. And I also like Josh Jackson. Just an absolute ton. This is a very, very stackable game to me with value just littered all over the place. Let's go to the next game. The San Antonio Spurs and the Atlanta Hawks. Derek White will return after resting last game for the Spurs. There's still no Hunter or Bogdanovic for the other team, who is completely blanking in my mind. The Atlanta Hawks, that's the team that I'm thinking of. Right there, Derek White's at 52. I'd be hesitant to use him. I don't mind Gallinari at 48. His minutes have pushed up. He hasn't done huge amounts with them, but 20 points last game, it's not bad. I like Trae Young at 10,000. I think he's a relatively good high-priced option here. While DeJounte Murray at 68 is too high, and I think the 81 for Clint Capella is probably pushing too high as well. They've moved Kevin Huerter to 6,000. I actually think it's all right. He's playing well, he's shooting well, he's getting a lot of minutes. And 77 for John Collins is not too high, even though last game was inflated by foul trouble to Clint Capella. I think Collins is an option for us to use here. The Hawks are 2-point favorites in that one, and the total is 228.5 points. Next game, the New Orleans Pelicans and the Dallas Mavericks. We've got the Mavericks 2-point favorites. The total is 233.5. Kristaps Porzingis is at 8,300. Limited minutes for Porzingis last game. I think he's a 40-point guy. I wouldn't say he's the best option out here, but I do think he is an option for us at that 8,300. Of course, Doncic is always going to be in play. 10-9's a lot, but he's still in play, while Zion at 8,000 feels like a relatively safe floor option with how he's playing at the moment. Josh Hart's always a little bit risky because he's quite fluctuable in his numbers, and I say the same for Brandon Ingram at 8,200. While Lonzo Ball, just killing it every game. 6,700 for Lonzo, who's averaging 38 points over the last 3 games. Dallas's defense hasn't been particularly good so far this season, so I'm okay with Lonzo, who honestly has hardly had a bad game in the last 2 to 3 weeks. The next game we look at here is the LA Clippers and the Chicago Bulls. We know that Paul George is out, but Wendell Carter Jr. has been upgraded to doubtful. We don't expect him to play, but that's just encouraging news anyway. Garrett Temple started, or should have started the last game. He's at 4,200. I don't mind using Garrett Temple. I'm not completely in love with it, but if they're going to just pump minutes into him for one more game, he could work out. Lou Williams at 5,800 is taking on a lot of usage with Paul George out. I didn't mean to put George in there. Lou Williams at 5,800 is an option for us. I like Levine at 9,200. He's just giving us big number after big number, averaging 56 over the last 3. Now, the defense of the Clippers is another issue, but I like Levine still. And Kawhi at 95 looks pretty good to me as well. So nice value on the high-priced players there. Kobe White's at 63. Yeah, a bit of a flyer guy, but I don't think he's replicating what he did in the last contest. While Denzel the Hammer Valentine, I think he's been priced up a little bit. 5,400 just feels on the high side. Dan Gafford's at 3,500, and Gafford, he's getting like 20 points a night. That's not particularly sexy, but he's doing it, importantly, in under 20 minutes a night. 20 points, 25 points in the last 2 games in 17 and 15 minutes. Now, it's a long shot to expect him to get 20 minutes, but his minutes have gone 11, 13, 15, 17. He's playing better. He's blocking shots. Not the worst GPP type guy. Not the worst. Not the best, but not the worst. Reggie Jackson has been starting, and I think it'll continue. I'm just not sure that it's one of the best options out there. While Pat Williams is up and down, and at 5,300, I think the salary is probably just a little bit too high in my mind. Let's move on. The next game, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. That is the next one. The Thunder, no Shea, no Maladon, no George Hill, no Gary Harris for Denver either. Darius Baisley's at 59. You can take that. I'm not interested in it at all. Al Horford's at 6,700. I am interested in that. He's been putting up just absolute big dad dick numbers at the moment. Lou Dort at 49. Not keen on it, but I am keen on Mickey Porter. $6,000 for Porter. He should get another start. He put up 38 last game in just 28 minutes in a blowout. Yes, it was the Cavs, but I like it here. While MC Hamadou Diallo is at $7,000. He's going to be the point guard again. He's going to get assists, he's going to get rebounds, he's going to score, and he's going to beat that value pretty easily. I think Big Chungus at 10,700, Nikola Jokic, he's always going to be a good option for us. Al Horford's been defending centers at a pretty good level, but Jokic is a 50-point guy here, I think, pretty comfortably. Not interested in Jamal Murray, but I'll tell you who's a guy who is going to fly under the radar a bit. RJ Hampton. Hampton, in the last 3 games, is averaging 21 DraftKings points in 21 minutes. There's no Gary Harris. There's no PJ Dozier. He's going to get 16, 17 minutes a night. It's not particularly sexy, But if he drops 20 and no one else has him and he's at 3,200, maybe that's a little bit of a step up for you. Isaiah Roby's questionable. He was a late scratch last time out. There is an opportunity for him here, but with Mike Muscala back, that's tempered somewhat, so I wouldn't be going completely insane for Isaiah Roby, especially after he burnt a lot of you last time out with that late scratch. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Utah Jazz. That is the next game that we're looking at here in Utah. The Jazz are 1.5-point favorites. The total's 232.5. No Mike Conley, no Drew Holiday either. Rudy Gobert is at 7,500. Great value for Gobert. Absolutely love that. While Jordy Clarkson with no Conley at 57 looks good. Ingles at 59 looks awesome. And Don Mitchell as a point guard is an absolute DraftKings killer. Love him at that price. He is fantastic. 8,200. I am all about it. He gets the line more. He gets assists. He puts up a ton of points. He's averaging 55 in his last 3. I'd also say the big Ragu Dante DiVincenzo without Drew Holiday is an option for us as well, averaging 26 over the last 3. And Chrissy Middleton at 8,000. The passes, the assists are way up. I like it. Less so than Mitchell and DiVincenzo, but I still like it. And Gianni Antetokounmpo's at 10.8. Yeah, it's in the Jokic and Doncic group. I probably prefer those two guys there, but it's Giannis, man. He's pretty good. We know that. Let's go on to the next game. It's Cleveland, and it is Portland. The Blazers here are 4.5-point favorites on a back-to-back against the Cavs. That's because the Cavs got trucked by approximately 11 million points in their last game against the Nuggets. The total here is 222. Darius Garland's at 5,700. Last game was a disaster, but I expect him to bounce back from that. He'd played pretty well prior to that. So I like Garland in this one quite a bit. Cantor's at 6,900, and though that is nice, it's also a very good value price, so I like it. Lillard at 9.8, I'm all for it. Doesn't worry me about the back-to-back. And then Drummond at 8,200. Well, he was atrocious, doesn't even cover it. He was horrendous against the Nuggets. I don't know if they start him and Allen again together. I would be cautious about using those guys if we don't get lineup information and you don't have an easy late swap pivot. Not keen on Colin Sexton at the moment. Gary Trent at 58 is always worth at least a look. And Bob Covington, Taurean Prince, they're not really going to get me too excited. The second last game of the night is the Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers have Anthony Davis listed as questionable. LeBron is probable. The Grizzlies are without DeAnthony Melton, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark, Justice Winslow. Grayson Allen's probably going to start, and he's at 4,100. I am all in on Grayson Allen here. Ja Morant's at 71. He's been pretty bad since coming back from his ankle injury, but that price, absolutely fine. 7-2 for Jonas. I think the Lakers matchup's a little bit worrying, but at 7-2, the price is fine, especially without Clark there. And LeBron's at 10-1. I'd probably only really consider LeBron at 10-1 if Anthony Davis does happen to miss. Dylan Brooksy Brooks at 5,600. Now, normally I'm not a Brooks fan, but there's just no other opportunity, no other path here for Taylor Jenkins, but just to force feed him shots and minutes, really. And Kyle Anderson at 6,000 feels like a relatively safe cash play with those other absences. Schroeder's at 6,400, and these recent games have been up there. 2 of those have come against the Thunder, though, and all 3 of those have been overtime games, so I'd be a little bit cautious about putting him into a lineup. The Magic and the Kings up next. Cole Anthony, Evan Fournier, Michael Carter-Williams, all of those guys missed on Thursday. We don't know if they'll play here. If Anthony plays, he's at 5,200. I'd be interested in him. Now, of course, if they're all out, we're looking at Frank Mason yet again. He is up to 4,600, but there is still value in using him there. I like De'Aaron Fox, even though he's up to 9,000. That's a good price. And Vooch is at 9,400. I think Vooch will be helped at 9,400 if those other guys are sidelined. Rashawn Holmes at 56, I'm not super into. Same with Halliburton at 63, Barnes at 64, or Hield at 67. They all just feel marginally overpriced. All right, that'll do it for my summary of Friday's slate. Don't forget, again, drop a comment down below. Leave a like, a thumbs up, notification bell. All those things are super helpful for the channel. So go and do that, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.